Welcome to High Truths on Drugs and Addiction, where national experts bring you facts and answer your questions. I am your host, Dr. Ronit Lev, an emergency and addiction doctor who has served at the White House and still practices on the front lines. Right here on High Truths, you will learn from experts, hear stories from the emergency department, and listen to people who have struggled from addiction. Friends, fentanyl is plaguing America. It has infected all illicit drugs, from cocaine to meth, counterfeit pills, and even marijuana. If you're around someone who may be using drugs, you should carry naloxone, the opioid reversal agent. Carrying naloxone for drugs is like carrying an EpiPen for allergies. If you need a prescription for naloxone, you should have one. No questions asked. That is why I am offering a free prescription to anyone who needs one. Come visit me on hightruths.com to learn more about the show, submit a question, or download a free prescription for naloxone. And if you like the show, do me a favor. Give us a 5-star review and subscribe. Your stars are very much appreciated and go a long way in supporting the program. Today's episode is sponsored by Families Against Fentanyl. FAF is an organization set on breaking the status quo of failed solutions and to get to the core of the supply chain of deadly fentanyl. Learn more about FAF by visiting familiesagainstfentanyl.org and sign their petition to declare illegal fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. Hi there, and welcome back to our weekly podcast, bringing you a godly and unsheltered discussion on high truths and drugs and addiction. I'm your host, Dr. Ronit Lev. Speaking of shelters, the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, released its 2021 annual homeless assessment report to Congress in February of this year. Approximately 17 in 10,000 people experience homelessness every day. The total estimate of homeless in the United States is over 550,000, and 10% of those are living in California. The number of chronically sheltered homeless individuals has increased 20% between 2020 and 2021. While the chronically sheltered individuals have gone up, the total people seeking shelters has gone down 19% during the same time. It's very sad because the average life expectancy of someone who is homeless is just 50 years, and 20% of people who are homeless are kids. And with that, let's hear our question of the day.
Hi, High Truths. My name is Talon Salazar, and I work as a tech in the emergency department. Dr. Lev, it's been wonderful working with you for the past couple years. I have a question. We treat many people who are homeless, and I see these people out. What is something nice to do for someone who is homeless?
Thank you, Talon, for your question, and thank you for bringing me a wonderful smile every time I see you in the emergency department. You are my definition of a leader. You carry antenna when you're working, listening and looking where you can jump in and be of assistance. You go beyond the job description and are an invaluable asset to the hospital, to the doctors and nurses and patients. And to answer your question, I have someone who has firsthand experience. Christopher Ibanez is Senior Servant and Administrator of God's Kitchen, a mobile van that provides 200 home-cooked meals for the outside community that challenges the taste of Phil's barbecue. Chris refers to what some call homeless as his brothers and sisters. Chris has a bachelor's in business management and organizational leadership. He's living in recovery and author of the book 911, The House of Steel, available on Amazon. You can find Chris Ibanez's bio on the High Truth show notes. Chris Ibanez and Irene Koppel. I met you guys at the park, and I really wanted for my High Truth listeners to get to know you and meet you and hear your story. So tell us about your journey in drugs and homelessness and what made you create God's Kitchen.
Wow, that is a really, really wonderful journey. I've called it the amazing journey, really. The first time I used marijuana was at age 9. And throughout my career, by the time I was 18, I was a full-blown heroin addict. and then used meth and the pharmaceuticals for the next 30 years. And then at the height of my addiction, which was around 2011, 2013, the marriage fell apart. I got laid off from my career. There was just a series of plant closures. And then lost the house, I lost the family. And then got into drug smuggling to kind of help, I guess, feed my my addiction. And then it came to a point where I didn't know how to get out of it. I wanted out. I didn't like my life. I didn't like my heart. I didn't like the way things were going. But it was a lot harder to get out of the state that it was in. And then so the law came down, and I actually got exonerated from the case. And then things started to come together, even though it didn't seem like it at the point. And then found myself homeless out on the street. And then just started to feed people. That was my neighbor in a tent on a sidewalk. And then by the time you knew it, the line, our little barbecue pit that was keeping us warm in the tent got stolen. And our neighbor, who was in another tent, said, "Hey, you know what, Chris? God just says you got to get a bigger one." And at that point, it became 2 city blocks we were feeding. And then and we didn't really have anything to do it with. We just had what we had in our pockets, and we did that, and it grew on its own. It just morphed into what it is now. And now we over the time we've come to realize that just creating a comfortable space where our guards can be let down, and that we can just share time and opportunity together with a really, really good meal. And we've kept the standard of the meal very, very high. That's just one of the things, the line that I won't cross. I just keep that standard real, real high. And here we are today, 6 years later, living on a prayer and just going, just continue doing what we're doing. I mean, we have a lot of fun doing it. There's a lot of challenges that we got to go through, but that's just the journey. We've really enjoyed it.
I was so inspired when I met you and I saw what you guys were doing. Irene, how about you?
Well, I met this nut. He's actually a neighbor of mine, and I didn't know it. And it was right at the point where his life was just exploded and falling apart all to pieces. And I had no idea. He was having a garage sale, and that's how I met him. And the reason he was having the garage sale was because he was planning on going into a program called Beans and Rice and Jesus Christ. And that was it, right? We met, and from that point on, we were inseparable. He never went to that program. God had other plans for him. And I ended up selling my house. And I ended up selling it, and that's how we were able to start getting the van and getting the food and everything that we were going to be sharing. But it's been miracle after miracle, watching him step out of all these traps and chains that, were holding him down from his destiny. And what's unfolded before us is nothing short of miraculous. And we've grown so much by being able to serve our outside community here and seeing their lives changed just by being able to treat them with the dignity that they deserve. That's been transforming to their hearts and their minds. And it's not an overnight thing. It's consistent love, consistent value, consistent respect for them that changes their heart. It's not just a one-time thing. It's the consistency. And so we are where we are right now because of it, talking to you, and just really happy to be able to be here.
That's great. And Irene, have you had a journey through drugs as well? Were you homeless with Chris or separate?
Well, yes, I did. I was from the time I was about 16 to 29 years old. I was addicted to drugs. And there was one thing that I wanted to get off desperately, and I wasn't able to. And I knew it. Everything I tried didn't work. I heard a message about Jesus Christ, and I asked God, is this true? Is this true? You'll set me free. And I said, if it's true, show me a sign. God answered my prayer. He showed me a sign that I really needed. And I was set free. So what was the second question?
Homelessness.
When homeless, yes, a short time living in the car with Chris, yes, and in the tent.
And getting sprinklers sprinkled on us. We didn't know, we were so naive.
Yeah, we definitely have experienced homelessness and drug addiction. So, being where we are, we can't really help them unless we've overcome these two obstacles. And so that's where we're planted right now. And that's how you met us, and seeing what's just happened out of that.
And Chris, you said you were college educated. You had a job and all that while using heroin?
No, the heroin stopped at about age 29, but crystal meth and the pharmaceuticals did not stop. In fact, I was production manager with Toyota North America, and I'd be in board member meetings, and I'd be high on OxyContin, and that would literally went for 6 years. So I had a full blown career, and I never really, but there was just I just had constant access to pharmaceuticals. If it was not meth, it was pharmaceuticals that I was using, and never really. I went through my career, and it was like I was an operating addict, and nobody knew.
Yeah, they say call it functioning. Right?
Oh, correct.
Yeah, functioning.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then you were able to hide your addiction.
Correct. I mean, I was taking my cocktail was 2 Norcos and 1 OxyContin every 3 to 4 hours.
Oh my!
For like 6 or 7 years straight. Yeah.
And from that you went to methamphetamines?
Yes, correct. And then it got real bad when I started to use it intravenously. That's when they closed the plant here in San Diego. That it took a deeper level, and I started to use it intravenously.
And how did you get out of that? I mean, things got worse. And then did you have to reach rock bottom to get out of it?
Yes, I've thought about that a lot, because I've never been able to kick it before, and I've thought about. I knew my life was at a point that I didn't like it, but drugs was pile high, money was all over the place. I tell everybody this, that what's going $1 million and crystal meth destroyed my life. And there was so much money and there was so much drugs. It was a lot harder to walk away from that, even though I wanted out of it. But a series of events started to happen. Lost the family, lost the house, all bank accounts. I believe there were 7 bank accounts that was frozen by the police. So I could not even buy anything, could not pay anything, even though I had the money. And then, so that was one of the steps. But the very first one, the core one, is I wanted out. I needed help to get out, and I didn't know who to ask. I was afraid to ask. And but I just knew the condition of my heart. I just could not stand my life. And then, from then, I started to, I started to go to church. A couple of things happened. It was a couple of miracles actually that happened that I thought it was, well, that's kind of odd. Why did this happen? And at this point, I wasn't really knowing this idea about God. And then, but I just put the miracles to the side there. And then a series of events happened. House gone, family gone, career. There was no way I was getting back into my career because I was to the point. I was just head deep into my addiction. And then the police came on scene. And then I got arrested. And then I had 2 years of actually in the prison too. There's a lot more drugs in the prison than there is outside of the prison. And so I was watching that, and I watched all the people around me. And then then I found something within me that brought me a lot of joy. And so and it was a gift that I discovered late. And I actually discovered in the prison. I started just cooking for the brothers and in the jail and in the dorm. And by the time I knew it, we were, it just exploded in there too. And, we didn't have no oven. We didn't have strawberries or anything. We had to get strawberries out of our oatmeal. And I discovered that I enjoyed sharing with people, feeding people, and just enjoyed cooking in general. And that's my new joy right now. And then, the magic about a meal, it brings people together. There's probably nothing else in the world that can bring a group of people together, sit down and have some good meals and just enjoy life together. And that's brought a lot of joy. And I noticed that joy is being shared with other people, and that transforms lives. Even sometimes it takes it takes consistency, like Irene said, but that's just been a wonderful journey. And there's some guys that come up to me. I remember in jail, I would make just a dessert out of a cracker and bananas that was smuggled into the dorm, and the person would cry and would say, the last meal I had was recycled from a trash can, and you're coming up with this. And so I looked at that, and it was like an easy meal. There was nothing complicated about it. And so I saw the beauty of that. And it was inner beauty first that was happening. And so I just latched onto that and kept on putting my heart into it, and a lot of hard work. And it's just bearing fruit now after about 6 years. Well, it's always bear fruit, but right now it's so part of the fabric of the community that we serve that it's there's no turning back now.
Wow. I hear that a lot. There's a lot of negative things about jail, but sometimes that could be the turning point of getting your life around.
Yes, correct. And it wasn't, I didn't have a jailhouse religion. I actually found God before I went in. And then going in there, I tell everybody that it was my desert. That's where everything was cleared for me, everything, and I was able to focus. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that we do on Wednesdays and Thursdays. We try to create an atmosphere where all our guards are let down and we can relax and just go and just hopefully something would come in when everybody's sitting still.
Right. And when you talk about your journey, you call yourself an addict, and we in the in the medical profession are teaching the aspects of stigma, not to call someone an addict. And yet I meet people and they call themselves an addict. So are you offended by the word addict? Obviously not. You're using that, or do you think those words matter or they don't matter?
Well, I I call myself a recovered addict. but
Okay.
I don't even, yeah, I see the point where it's an addict, but I see the stigmatism when it surrounds an addict, or the word addict. I mean, I look at our brothers and sisters out there who are using, and I just don't, I don't see an addict. I see the person. And so, correct. I believe, yes. I think our vocabulary should change as far as using that kind of word, just so, because it does carry a very negative stigma. I agree.
Yeah. And like you don't like the word homeless, right? You say outside community.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. Because, well, this,
Yes.
no, it's a very complex, very dynamic, and very multifaceted thing. That homeless, there, we know a lot of people out there that love being out there. They are not homeless. They love their life. We know a guy, we call him Mad Hatter, and he loves the environment. He is so good in his skin. He's just a beautiful person, and he loves being out there. That's not homeless. And so we call it an outside community, and it is a very, we have found they're very, very private, and it's a community on its own. And so, homeless, to me, it demeans the person further, when you say homeless, and it's just the easiest word to go to, but we kind of refrain from saying it and say outside community.
Interesting. You're the first people who I've heard use that. And then I saw you in action, which was amazing. I just want to ask you both. You're living in recovery. Do you feel like you're good, or you always have to work on that? Do you ever have cravings, or is this something that you realize that you have a lifelong disease and you just need to be aware of it?
It is gone from me. I don't have a crave, and it disappeared from me. It really did. After 47 years, I do not have a craving, and meth is falling from the skies here in San Diego. If a person who is mentally ill can get a hold of meth, that's how much meth there is out here in the streets here in San Diego. There is a lot of it. I have a handicapped brother who is mentally challenged, and he can leave the house and he can come back high on meth. I was never able to do that in my time. And so, but I don't have the urge anymore. Probably the worst I'll smoke a cigar once a week. That's one of my favorite pastimes, a glass of wine and a good cigar. But as far as cravings, it's gone. I don't even like to take any kind of medicine at all. Period. I take one pill a day, and that is for my blood condition. That's it. And Tylenol, I refuse to take it unless I absolutely have to. I don't know. I just stay away from medicine for some reason. But it's gone. I don't work on it. It's truly been replaced by joy. It really has been, and that is the miracle.
Wow. So I have a question for you from one of our emergency department technicians, Talon. He is an amazing guy. Every time I see him, I'm going to have a good shift, because he's always smiling, always helpful, goes out of his way to help, kind of like you. And his question is, he sees people who are, and I'm going to still use the word like homeless, in the emergency department, on the way to work in the environment. What's the best way to help someone like that, when you see them? What's the best way to interact?
One thing to make sure, the very critical thing, you must be sincere in what you're doing, and that sincerity will translate in your actions. They have to see that. More and more you're seeing outside, there's a disconnect. For example, it's easy to go out and just hand out a sandwich to somebody. You're not really making a real connection if you're not really spending any time with that person. And sometimes that's key, is making sure you're sincere, and take interest in them. I'm not saying to take them home. I mean, I probably dare you to. We've done that. We've opened our home, made them have showers, fed them, and just have them relax in our home. But showing that you care, and be consistent about it. I mean, you got to remember, their guards are up. They're looked down upon. They're struggling, and they don't. And even then, they feel, oh, this mistake that I done, and they're feeling ashamed. So their guard is up. When they see police, their guard is up. When they see anybody that they don't know, their guard is up. You have to try and penetrate that guard. And I think the key to that is making sure you're sincere in everything that you do with that individual. And then you'll see that guard drop. Once that guard drops, wow, you got a lot of opportunity there.
There's also guard the other way for people who are not homeless, fear of them, right? Of violence or their behavior. What do you think of that?
Well, just the other day, a lady came over and said, "This is my backyard at the beach." She's a resident at Mission Beach, and she said like this: you bring these people over here, and you bring crime and you bring drugs, and I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, I told her, I go like this: well, they were here way before I got here, but not everybody is a drug addict. Not everybody is a thief. And then also, we wonder why people are using the bathroom on the sidewalk. Everybody's locking their bathroom doors to them. Everybody's just ostracized them. So take interest in just one individual, and see, I get it. It's a challenge to see, to see what's going on. There's open drug use all over. And to this day, I wonder, how can we affect that? And that's a really, really complex answer. But the people out there, they go talk to them, talk to them. Don't be afraid of them. Talk to them straight and be sincere. Sometimes you got to be firm, but that's fine. But check your feelings too. Why are you feeling something? But when you go to them, talk to them straight and be sincere with them, and communicate. Nobody's communicating with anybody. We have this fear, and we don't even express. We don't even know why we're scared. We just are scared because they got a needle in their arm, and
that can be scary.
Yeah, that is scary. It is scary, but step out and talk to that person, not to look down at what they're doing, but to try and see them as a person, and try to penetrate that barrier where you can communicate with them, and you will see a whole new different person if you can see beyond that and try to reach them that way. I mean, and if you're not comfortable with that, get somebody and approach the person with them, and talk with them, and just to see them, because really, we found over the years there's so many beautiful people out there. They're stuck. They're just stuck in so many things. I mean, I know when I was out on the street, my hardest thing that I had to do was staying clean. It took me 2 hours a day sometimes to find water just to stay clean. So hygiene was a challenge, but it was the only thing that I can do for myself at that point. And that's what was my single goal every day, was to stay clean. And that was a challenge. So give the next person an opportunity. If you're scared, then just find a way to communicate with them, where you're not looking down on them, but you really want to, you want to see their reality.
Oh, that's very nice. What about people, you see them, begging for money on the side of the street, and you always think, well, they're just going to buy alcohol or drugs with that. Should you give money to people like that, or that's not going to go to the right place?
Okay. Well, okay. There's a couple of things. uh, one of the things that, if you're going to tell me it's for food, you're already lying to me. I'd rather have you put that sign, say, I'm going to buy beer. I give you that, But what I've learned, there's about giving money out. Money is very easily abused, for one. And two, I would give money out only at the end of the month, because we know people that have set incomes, and what they do at the end, if they went over their budget during the month, at the end of the month, for the last 3 days, they would go out there and hold a sign to carry them over for that next 3 days. But other than that, any time of the month, I do not hand. In fact, this is my handouts should be very minimized. You have to really be careful how you hand that out. You you can't put any conditions when you do it. When you give, it's a great feeling, but are you helping? Are you helping? So you got to really examine why you're giving. Is it really going to help? And then, and the quality of the stuff. Too much of this stale donuts and stale bread being handed out. That any kind of pastry or bread or baked product coming from the store that's donated, just donate it to the trash can, because it's not worth giving it out. You're not helping anybody doing that. And so the money, I think, you got to be very, very prudent when you hand it. It's too easily abused, and so we do not give out money. It's just a bad thing. We do give out toward the end of the month, because we know some people during the beginning of the month. Most people's got either food stamp. If you see a sign that says they need food, it's probably not true. That's in our experience, and so that's just not a.
That's
that's
important advice.
I mean, it's kind of it feels kind of strong, but it's not. You got to remember, we have to deeply examine: are we helping the problem, or are we making it worse? Or are we, our biggest enemy when it comes to this idea about homelessness and what's good and poverty? Homelessness in general it's an abstract demon that we're fighting. It's complacency. Once you get settled down in your routine, you don't want to break away from it because you're comfortable. Well, we don't want you to be comfortable. Life is not comfortable. We're challenged every day. And so we cannot have our tent pitched up and then sit there for 3 months and then expect a change to happen. No, we have to get up, make our bed, and find what it takes to make it happen. And so this idea about giving, really look at it. And we have a lot of people that want to donate to the ministry. And our very first thing is, I want you to donate your time. Come and volunteer and see how you can help. Because I don't know how you may see it better than me. It's easy to hand over $1,000 or $100, but what do you know? Come out and volunteer so you can see it. Yeah, engage them.
Tell us about God's Kitchen. What is God's Kitchen?
Well, I'll tell you how we got our name. When COVID, they shut the beach down, and and all the churches shut down, and I'm like, wow, well, the hunger doesn't go away here. So we pulled up to the side of the road that we were allowed to, that was not closed, and we started cooking over there. And some dude rolls up on us and he goes, "Just pull over on the side of the road and start cooking for people, huh?" And I said, "Yeah." And then he goes, "Is this your kitchen?" And then I thought about it. I said, "No, it's God's kitchen, because I'm just a servant here, And that's how we got the name, and it stuck. And so, and we and that's what it is. We just cook. And we're we're an operation. We cook on the spot. And it's been a challenge to get the right equipment to pull out a quality meal. But now we are equipped for that. and the quality of the meal is just way up there. And we have a blast. It really is. It's fun. It's hard. What do you think God Kitchen is about?
It's to me it's God's. It's His. It's not ours, and that's the only reason it's successful.
Yeah. And so yeah,
Wow.
that's and so
Tell us what's on the menu.
Oh golly, what's on the menu? I would think we had. I'll go last 3 weeks ago. We had half-pound burgers with all the fixings. We had barbecue pork loin chops, biscuits and gravy, spinach and cheese omelets for breakfast.
French toast with all the fixings, whipped cream, peaches, powdered sugar. We make it look really beautiful because that's an expression of our love to them. The highest quality food, gourmet, you know, they feel the love in that.
And 99% of everything we get comes off the front of the line. We buy it at Restaurant Depot, Costco, high quality products. And there's where I play a role in. I'm just not gonna, I don't go to the donut store and say, hey, could I have a stale donut? In fact, if I get one, I'd be like, give me a fresh one. So you won't see us handing out a stale donut. And so we give on, and then coffee, we really load them up on coffee. We think just starting off the day with some good coffee, something and maybe some oatmeal to stick to their bones and start the day right.
So you do breakfast and dinner.
Oh yeah, breakfast and dinner. We have a Wednesday breakfast, which is a full breakfast. The other day we had spinach and cheese omelets, fried rice, bacon, French toast with peaches and whipped cream and so much syrup it'll give you a cavity.
and what impressed me, you have your van out there and it has the God's Kitchen logo. You have all the your barbecue pit and your equipment that you're doing, and then you speak on the microphone. Thank God, and inspire people. And then people line up and they were so orderly and peaceful and no shoving for food, lots of distance. I was very impressed. How many people are lined up?
Well, the last 3 weeks, we had 102, 110, 105. Yesterday was about 90. So consistently, the numbers are trending up. And breakfast has taken a whole new life. We just started serving donuts and coffee, and now it's like, I can't sacrifice. It's got to be a good meal, but we got to make sure that. But the numbers are trending up, that's always and you get some of them on the line that try to cut. I pay attention to that. We respect the people on the line. And even the handicapped ones, we won't let them, if they can't walk, we won't let them get in line, but they can, we have a table set up where they can sit there and then we'll hand them their food.
Wow. And this must cost, the food costs, gas now costs a lot of money for your van, man. Right? How do you pay for all that?
Well, let me just give you an idea. About 6, maybe 8 months ago, 15 dozen eggs cost us $11. Now it's about $47 for that same amount of eggs. It scares me, but we've really run on the way the funding works is me and Peanuts donate 10% of all of our income, whatever our income is, whether we go on and we do contract work, whatever we do, 10% comes in. We have one friend that donates $300 a month. And then we have another person that donates $100 a week for the breakfast. But when you tally up that does not even cover 1 week's meal with the prices of everything. So the other miracle about this thing is random people come and give, but the biggest donors by far across the board are the outside community. They come, they give us. We have a bunch of people that are housed now that used to come. That actually still come. Well, they stay in the apartment complex. They'll call me up once a month and they say, "Hey, Chris, we collected all these recycles, and we got this much money. Could you come pick it up?" So that equates to about maybe $190. And then we have the brothers and sisters that are actually living in the beach area. They actually recycle and they bring the recycle to us. And then a lot of them with their Social Security checks, they give they give. I had one guy come over to me and had this big old bag of maybe, I don't know, a couple thousand pennies. And he goes, "Chris, I don't have anything, but this is all I got. I've been collecting this thing." And I had a blast taking that to Walmart at the self-checkout center, dumping those pennies in there and just having a blast. And everybody saying, "Could I pay that for you?" I said, "No way, you can't pay this for me. I'm paying it in pennies." Yeah. And so, yeah. So that's, and then we do no soliciting at all. We do not ask for any funds from anybody. We really live on a miracle. In fact, January, the last week of January, we only had funds for one more meal. So what I did, I said, okay, let's cut the fat off. We either go to, we'll take off all the fat, like remove the ice and the soda and the French toast. And then maybe we'll go down to, we'll go down to once a week. Once a month rather than every week of the month. And then somebody came and funded us for like the next 4 months. So yeah. So on average, the meals are very expensive. We're talking, it's about $700-800 a week these days. We try to be very prudent in what we buy. And so beef is, every now and then we'll get beef if I see a correct sale that I can manage to get at least 80 pounds of it. Because that's the kind of protein we use. It's about 80 pounds of protein a week, not including breakfast. That's just for dinner.
Wow. Well, it's amazing outreach and good work that you do. So people can't donate to you. Are you a nonprofit, or just if people wanted to give you money to help pay for food?
Yeah, we are not a nonprofit. We are not a church. Our church is on the outside. And then sometimes, a lot of the times, like I said, we would like if people wants to donate, we would like first if they can come and check it out and just come and serve and engage them a little bit and kind of see. And then we have no online presence. We don't take a bunch of pictures and we don't post it on the internet. We don't do any of that stuff. In fact, we refrain from taking pictures, period, because it gets out of hand. And then it's not exactly picture day for our brothers and sisters on the outside. And so we don't want to take that out of context. We don't want it to be used in the wrong way. So we just try not to use any pictures at all. And if they do want to donate, we have Zelle and we have PayPal. But we're like I said, and then stop by and check it out. I mean, that's be the first thing. And if they truly want to help, that's the way they can do. The most convenient would be I guess a check or through Zelle. But I have a hard time when it comes to the funding thing, because I really truly, if people are led to come and to donate, then they'll come and they'll donate. I just have a hard time even speaking about something like that, only because I don't know. It's just the way it's been. It's so easy to have $1 million and just buy what you want, but it's not fun when you're like, okay, how am I going to pay for next week's meal? That's like really scary.
Now, the way I got to you is because you reached out. You noticed that brothers and sisters were dying of overdoses of fentanyl, and you've seen that. And then you reached out to who? To DEA, law enforcement. You
Yes.
asked for help.
Yes. Well, one thing, I didn't know what resources were out there. And then another thing, I didn't even know what fentanyl looks like. And I were like, how do we get the word out to these guys? How do we know what resources are there? And the very first thing I said, well, let's call the DEA up and let's find out what they got to offer. And then I was surprised by what they told me. They said they can't even identify it without testing it first. And I'm like, man, that scared me. And so I reached out and I asked them, could you come, could you come and educate us with a bunch of information? Because I didn't know any, I know about meth, I know about heroin. I didn't know anything about fentanyl, and fentanyl, they're dropping like flies. We've 7 people we've known.
I worked last night. I had 3 fentanyl overdoses.
Wow. See, that's
just me.
And I felt so inadequate because I didn't know any info. So I wanted them to come over and give us information and educate us. And overall that day, I was kind of scared, actually, because I wasn't too sure of how the outside community was going to take it. And man, it was a successful day. I was really encouraged by that. And so we're hoping, and now we're seeing more and more organizations come and hang around and consistently be there. And so the resources are coming to them at this time where they're relaxed.
And it was, the people who were there, we had harm reduction, you had San Diego Police Department, and they said several times with using your microphone that you matter to us. We're here to serve, and you're part of the community that we're serving. And then we had, again, DEA, people who are out to bust drugs, teaching prevention. There were students from UCSD who made little baggies with socks and goodies and notes to people. So I'm glad that was a positive experience for you. Did you hear feedback from the people you feed?
Yes, they've consistently asked. Now they're approaching more about resources. One of them told me that you know what, they actually appreciated that those students sat down with them, and it was. I wanted to take a picture so bad of what I saw there. I just knew something was happening there because they sat down and just ate with them and talked with them, and so that's really, they're walking around with their shoulders high, their heads walking high, and they're like, wow, yeah. So yeah, we got a lot of positive feedback from that. They just need to be felt like they're welcome in people's lives, and so that was really that's one of the greatest things. I'll go there with an imaginary camera and start taking pictures, and it's just, yeah, yes, there was a lot of feedback with that. And you can tell there's a lot more happening where, our greatest barrier, like when San Diego Police asked me, could they come? And I go like this, and it's a big risk, but if you're going to come, could you not be in uniform? Because there's such a level of distrust. We need to be able to bridge that, open a door again, and that's one of the things that I think that we can help with is making sure that trust is being built again. And how do we build that trust? Being sincere. If you say you're going to come here and you're going to do this, then please do it. Don't say something you're going to do and you don't do it. Because all we're doing, we have this great opportunity where their hearts are open, their guards are down. Let's start to build these bridges again and start to make them receive some of the services that are available to them. Because some of them, there's a lot of services available to them, but they just don't trust them, and they won't even go there anymore. When in reality, they're one step away if they just can put their guard down and actually see. So that's one of the major reasons too. I reached out to as well, not only for to get information, not to get educated on fentanyl, but to have organizations now, organizations with a lot of resources to help these people to start to bridge that gap again. And that's really, really important.
Right, to seek treatment, that know that treatment with compassion is available. We were giving out naloxone and fentanyl strips that day, but definitely there's a lot more that we could do.
Right. And you know, we've had people OD right in front of the van, and if it was not for that nasal spray, it'd be we're still, I'm so aware of that right now, because fentanyl has really scared me.
So do you have naloxone in your van, right?
Yes, we have in our first aid kit and in our van. Yes,
hopefully
we're
several
equipped with that.
dosages that you have. You need several boxes. That was scary. You've given naloxone?
Yes, one time so far, and that's the first time that we've actually given it. But when we were downtown in a tent, they literally would wheelchair people ODing, and they'd be so scared to be in contact with them, so they'll wheelchair them to me, and I wouldn't even know what to do, and I just figuring out why, people. I thought it was just heroin, but no, it was fentanyl, and it was just coming on the scene, and then we've had them side by side, sitting on a tree, leaning on a tree, and both of them dying, not even knowing. And I didn't even know they're right there behind my van, and they're sitting on a tree and dead. The last person was with two females at their camp. The guy had died. His name was Dodo Bird. Well, that's his nickname. He had been dead for 2 hours before they even decided to say, hey, I don't think he's alive. That fentanyl really, really scares me.
It is scary. It is scary. And people just look like they're asleep and then they're dead.
And so, yeah, we got a lot of, and hopefully, I wish, I from a person that's using's perspective, I know when the Jones comes on, you don't even care what's in that thing. You slam it in your vein, and so I get that. I know that. I know how scary that can be. I know when the Jones kicks in, it doesn't matter what's in that needle. You're going to put it in you, and so I understand that. It's very, very vivid in my mind, and so that part there, when I see them, and I try to get to the point to prevent that point there.
And Irene, we just see so much love that you have towards Chris. It's beautiful. And for your mission, you sold your house and spent that money to get this van and get everything started. Isn't that's amazing?
It's what I had in my hands at the time. So we've always just, the way to serve is not to wait for, 10 years from now, I might have all of this to be able to give and share. It's what is in your hands right now that can be used. And so that it was very simple. It wasn't a big deal to me. It was what was in my hands.
And you're able to, you cook also? You help Chris in the kitchen?
Oh, yeah. He's the main cook, but yeah, he needs some assistance.
And everything looked delicious. I know you said no pictures, but I hope to post. You let me take a picture of the food, so I think I'll share a picture of the food and maybe of the van.
Yeah, we have some pictures that we can email you and send that to you. It'll probably be no pictures of any individual, but we can we have some pictures out there that just like I said, we like really take it we're very cautious when we take pictures.
Yeah. You said there's some justice involved. People they don't want their pictures out.
Yeah. And there's
Yes, absolutely. The way he put it, it's not exactly picture day for them. They know they're not groomed the way they want to be groomed. I mean, they're people, and we have a lot of respect for their privacy. So that's why we don't do the pictures, even though, like you said, we'd love to take pictures. We'd love to, but we ourselves have to practice that self-control from doing that.
Yeah, but there's so many beautiful moments that a picture can capture. I mean, it's like crazy amazing to man.
So
I need
true.
to take this picture. I gotta take this, especially the little community groups that you see in their little gatherings. I'm like, oh, it's just, you see them and something's happening, but we can't do it. It's just not right.
Yeah. Well, Chris and Irene, you really touched my heart. And your stories is very inspirational. And what you have, besides love, that I obviously see is gratitude. The adversity that you've had in your life. Despite that, you're not bitter. You're gracious, and you're giving, and that's just so inspirational.
Well, thank you for that. Thanks for that. And we are grateful. I know I'm grateful that a couple of things that I did not die. I'm grateful with Irene. I call her Peanuts. Me and her, by the way, are a bag of M&Ms. I'm plain, she's nuts. That's my story. But I'm grateful too that I'm able to have that. We've been given a trust with the outside community. And I'm grateful that anything happens, they call me up. Just the other night, I got a text at midnight. Somebody got arrested for tickets. And then he was a caregiver to their person. They got their vehicle towed because of tickets. He gets arrested last week, and his girlfriend commits suicide Monday night. We've had individuals, I'll get called and say, hey, Captain got brought into the hospital by ambulance. We come check it. We find out that they said they gave him 68 weeks to live. We housed him in the van. We gave him his last wish. He said he wanted to stay at the Hyatt. So we put him in the Hyatt for one night, and it was like $400. I said, buddy, your last wish is over after today. We gotta go. So we stayed with him for 9 days, and he died with us. And so I'm really grateful that we're able to be a part of the community and to serve that community, because it's just, I don't know, there's just a lot going on in today's world. And it's our little way of trying to help the problem, this huge problem. We're just trying to do our part. We know what worked for us.
Chris and Irene, I really want to thank you for your time and your service and inspiration. And I also want to thank Talon, who called in and with this question. He is a definition of leadership. He's a tech, but it doesn't matter. Anyone in the emergency department who needs anything, he'll listen without you even asking, and turn around and go get it, find it, things that are hard to do, always with a smile. To me, he's an example of leadership, as you are too, also with a smile and love and the giving that you do.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for listening to High Truths on Drugs and Addiction, where national experts bring you facts and answer your questions. This week's episode would not be possible without the generous support from our sponsor. A sincere and warm thank you to FAF, Families Against Fentanyl. Visit familiesagainstfentanyl.org and sign the petition to declare illegal fentanyl a weapon of mass destruction. Make drug dealers think twice and 3 times before peddling killer drugs. Our producer is Dave Rivas from Davey Boy Productions. I am your host, Dr. Ronit Lev. We hope we brought your day a little bit more high truths.